So, good evening, everyone. Uh, Myself, Yash Rathod. I would firstly thank all the crew members and especially Professor Julio for inviting and giving this opportunity to participate in the Mission 47. Let's begin with the presentation. So, I will be talking about the habitat design. So, the agenda. We will be talking about the introduction and problems consideration into the design, the rocket payload consideration, types of construction, process of habitat installation, design brief for mission, site location, master plan, habitat design, and a visual concept. So, talking about the atmosphere and the problems that we are taking into consideration. So, Mars having a very thin atmosphere in the first place gives rise to the cosmic radiation. Also, in 2019, with the help of InSight rover, uh, there was likely a Mars quake identified by the InSight rover, and which is giving uh, uh, a signal that we should cater to this problem. Also, we are considering the dust storms. These are not exactly storms, but breezes or but these breezes when they are near your astronaut suit or your EVA suit, it could cause hamper in and can go through it, but it will not cause a lot of problem to the habitat. Meteorite shower is one of the main concerns. It will not happen frequently, but due to the thin atmosphere, it can damage the settlement. Talking about the temperature difference, the average temperature is minus 63 degrees Celsius. So we have to consider that and design accordingly. So the rocket payload, we are considering the SpaceX rockets. So, talking about the Falcon 9, the rocket payload or the mass that we can take, the cargo that we can take to Mars is 4,020 kgs, and for Falcon Heavy it is around 16,800 kgs. But we are aiming for the Starship. It has over 100 tons uh, of kilograms that we can take. Talking about the diameter of the cargo shipment for Falcon 9, it is 3.7 meters. For Falcon Heavy, it is 3.66 meters, and for Starship, it is 9 meters. So we are considering Starship as a rocket and will be designing according to the diameter and the payload consideration. So, talking about types of constructions that can be done. So, there are several types of constructions. There is 3D printing, ice house, sulfur concrete, self-deployable habitats, inflatable habitats, lava tubes. So, talking about 3D printing, 3D, this is the winning entry by AI Space Factory. So, the 3D printing is done by in situ basalt as a material with thermoplastics. So this could be a possible construction methodology that could be used. Ice House was again a competition entry for the NASA. So considering the radiation, this concept was had come up. So hydrogen plays a major role in shielding the radiation to the habitat. So the radiation is twice of that of on ISS, that is International Space Station on Mars. So this could be another. So in this, you can see the outer core and the inner core is printed by ice. We could use sulfur concrete as sulfur is in abundance on Mars. Uh, and also we could look for in self-deployable habitats. This image is of uh, uh, It talks about how it folds into one-fourth of its original size. So it is a self-deployable habitat for extreme environments. It is called as SHE, and it is made by ESA, that is European Space Station Space Agency, and it is for two people, two crew members, and it occupies around so the surface area is around 50 square meters for this deployable habitat, and also the material used is of ship hulls and yachts. So it is all metal. Talking about inflatable habitats, so Beam, the Biglow company, its Beam project, that is Biglow Expandable Activity Module, was successfully attached to the International Space Station. And talking about the numbers, it inflates from 2.16 meters to 4 meters. So twice its size it inflates, and it is comparatively very lighter in weight. So to cater to the problem of payload, of having more cargo, we could opt for this construction technique. Talking about lava tubes, so on the top, the first image is of Mexico, and the image below is of Mars. So you can see the similarity that we are having on the above image. It shows a series of lava tubes or skylights, and on the second image, that is Hellas Planitia, it also shows similar. So scientists are also considering lava tubes to be a shielding against the radiation on Mars. So talking about the timeline, like there are these many construction techniques, but what if we want to start with our very first mission, very first habitat on Mars? So we could start with inflatable habitats. Why? Or self-deployable habitats. Why? Because it is prefabricated from the Earth, and we are not relying on an autonomous robot or the 3D printing technique, uh, which can have any problems that cannot be signaled through Earth easily due to the communication gap. Also, we could when the first settlement is done, we could follow on to 3D printing, because 3D printing, all the 3D printing done was with all the commercial printers, and nothing is tried and tested on space as of now. Also, sulfur concrete and lava tubes can be explored after achieving or practicing 3D printing on Mars. So the overall process after selecting the inflatable habitat technology, considering the process, the overall process would be after the rocket has landed as per the SpaceX simulation, that is in the third image in the right corner, the cargo will eject from the top of the rocket with a parachute attached to it. That is the second image. The cargo will land 500 meters away from the rocket. The astronauts can walk and attach the cargo to the rover and bring the cargo to the site location. The astronauts have to unpack the cargo. The RACER excavator robot will excavate and make the surface even to install the inflatable habitats. So, what an RACER excavator robot is, it has wheels, and those wheels acts as an excavator, and it flattens the regolith of the Martian land. After the excavation is done, the astronauts can assemble and inflate the habitats with pressurized pumps. The habitats will have stabilized pressure and it will be ready for the astronauts to begin their mission. So, talking about the design brief, the mission comprises a total of 7 facilities and 21 crew members. Talking about the very first facility that will be installed, will be a main station that is of 4 crew members. It will have commander, chief, lab, two lab assistants. For greenhouse, it will have 2 crew members, a greenhouse manager, and a technical assistant. For the engineering facility, there will be engineer, a commander, communication chief, and robotics head. For healthcare center, there will be four crew members, two surgeons, and two nurses or assistants. For launch center, there will be launch and logistics, robotics manager, and assistant. For power station, there will be an administrator, inspector, ITT, and a solar and nuclear energy specialist. For sanitation center, there will be a person for collection and the other person for the processing and maintaining of the sanitation center. So these are the estimated calculations for the areas. So I am considering two sizes here as a standard. As one of the size would be for the main station, the diameter of the habitat would be 8 meters, and for other facilities it would be 6 meters, and for healthcare it would be 8 meters. So the main station will have three levels and other facilities will have only two levels. Talking about the total area, so the main station will have a total of 140 square meters, greenhouse 71, engineering facility, launch center, power station, and sanitation center will also have 71 square meters of surface area. Also, the healthcare will have a surface area of 97 as we are considering the 8-meter diameter. So why 8 and 6? Because the rocket's diameter or the starship's diameter is of 9 meters, and that's why we are considering a smaller. So it is easily can be ejected from the rockets. So talking about the site location, there are a lot of site locations uh, considered, like Gale crater and Acidalia planitia, Hellas planitia is also taken into consideration for future missions. So from NASA's astrobiology reports, we come to know that NASA is researching on radar detection of non-polar ice. So, as the polar deposits are generally more amenable to radar sounding, however, many features at lower latitudes have also been studied, revealing evidence for massive subsurface ice in multiple locations. So, the study says that it implies that the presence of a substantial additional H2O reservoir consisting of ice that may be the oldest yet detected on Mars in nearby of the Malia Planum. So it is in the dark black dotted square and several mid-northern latitude locations. So the ice detection was done by the Sharad instrument on the MRO spacecraft. So Malia could be a possible location for the mission. So talking about the master plan, the seven facilities are placed in accordance to their uh, functions. So the whole settlement will be powered by the 1 kilo nuclear power and also the solar power. It will be also having a facility of Moxie center, and all the seven facility centers will be there. So talking about the placement, so the main station is placed according so that it is overseeing the whole facility and is connected to all the major ones, that is the launch center, health facility, the sanitation, greenhouse, and overseeing the engineering and power station. Talking about the sanitation is connected and takes care of the whole regeneration, or let's say the reproduction of waste and basically the sanitation center will also look towards the solar sorry the ice that has been brought by the rover, or the mining that has been done. So the water collection or the water production and supply will also be taken care. So it is in contact to the launch center. Also, it is nearby to the engineering facility and also to the greenhouse. Talking about the engineering facility, as it will inspect and also take care of all the facilities. So it is keeping contact with power station and also the other facilities, the sanitation, and it's also watching towards the launch center if anything goes wrong with uh, uh, the rocket launch or something. So the engineering facility can tell the main station and henceforth. So talking about how far should be the launch pad, it is taken in consideration on Earth. The nearest launch pad to a launch center is around 6 kilometers, 6.3 kilometers. But taking in consideration to the atmosphere of Mars, it could be reduced on Mars. So it could be around 4 or 3 kilometers also, taking in the safety precautions considering the safety precautions. So talking about the habitat design, so the technology here used is inflatable habitat with robotic columns. So this is the habitat design for the main station. So the ground surface or the ground floor will have lab and work surface. The first floor will have hydroponics and kitchen, and the topmost floor will have sleeping and toilet. So all these facilities will have a small hydroponics and kitchen, because if the greenhouse gets damaged due to some dust storm, or let's say a meteorite shower, or let's say some other leak is happened due to the other facilities. So all the crew members would be intact, and they can grow their own food, and also they could be safe until the repair and maintenance is done. So they are not relying on a single greenhouse but having their own. So these functions are placed according to the usage. So most of the work would be done on the ground floor, and let's say if there is an emergency, the astronaut can uh, uh, or the scientists can directly go to the other facilities. The kitchen is placed on the first floor, so that having the lunch and dinner and snacks, they can go upstairs, and the sleeping pod is on the topmost with the toilets and bathrooms. So talking about how this technology can be worked out, so in its when it is not when it's in its initial stage, the habitat would be uh, uh, all the floors or the circular or the lightweight metal decks would be on the initial level. So when the with the help of a pneumatic pump and also electric power, uh, the robotic columns come up like a hydraulic thing, and with that, the wireframe of the inflatable acts as a outer covering, or let's say the outer skeleton, and these two things go in hand. As the metal decks are raised and as the inflation is done, our whole habitat is getting ready. So this was for the the ground plus two level thing. So talking about the other facilities where it is ground plus one, so it would cater only two crew members. So the whole of the ground floor would be of lab and workspace, and the above floor would be of hydroponics, kitchen, and sleeping and toilet. So talking about the main station, so the design, this is how the interiors would look like. So talking about the life support system, it will have for environmental control and life support system, that is ECLSS, and it will run through the cylindrical chamber in the center. On the top, we are having the sleeping and the toilet. On the kitchen, on the second floor, we are having this side is occupied with the kitchen and dining. And also on the right side, we are having hydroponics and the vertical garden. On the ground floor, we are having a lab and the workspace, and this is the way to the airlock, and it is all connected with this staircase. So, talking about the schematic service layout, so the as I was talking about the central chamber, so how the services will be worked out here. So this having a central core, uh, uh, so the sanitation and water supply will be taken care of from the central core. So supply and also the drainage. So it will be directly connected to the sanitation center. Also, the power supply coming in from the power station, it will be connected from the central core to the relative places or the workplaces and labs and the topmost level. Again, coming to the HVAC system, which is the most important, uh, uh, one of the most important. So the supply of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide, the cycle would be taken care of in the same manner. That is the a central chamber having branches all over the this thing, the spaces. So coming to the schematic airlock section, so what does a airlock do? So the passages, between the passages also there would be a airlock between the two facilities, because we cannot say or we cannot consider that anything can prick or anything can happen in this, and you are or the scientist or the astronaut is walking without his EVA suit. So the airlock will consist of EVA storage, suit storage, air filter, and the vents. So talking about what will be the material. So the material, it will have the same as of the Bigelow's beam, the inflatable habitat. So it will have the Vectran material as its outer layer with a vacuum in between, and the ice layer that will protect from the hydrogen or resist the radiation. Sorry, that will resist the radiation, and the ice having the hydrogen constituents. And also considering the minus 63 degrees Celsius as the average temperature. So a liquid or the water would be supplied while inflating the habitat, and there will be another layer of vacuum. So when the temperature difference, there is a lot of temperature differences, almost 10 to 15 degrees of temperature differences between in a day. So what this vacuum will help is with the contraction and expansion of the ice, so that will not disturb the outer or inner layer of the habitat. So this is the detail of the inflatable covering. So this is the visual concept. So this is how it will look from the bird's eye view. So you are having your 1 kilo nuclear reactor, which is almost 100 to 200 meters away. So to avoid any radiation leak, the solar farm is there, the Moxie Center, which is connected to the power station engineering facility, which is connected to the sanitation, also the greenhouse and the healthcare, and the main station, which is connected to the launch center. So all these centers are having their own airlocks, and the passages are inflated, pressurized, but at the same time, the astronauts are have to follow the protocols, and there is also a rover. So this is how the final design would come up as. So again, there will be rover. The rover would mine and come with the ice, and it will go directly to the sanitation center, and it would take care of the water supply to all the facilities. So these are my references. Thank you.